guys, we'll fix the score in just a second, but I hope you're ready to rock and roll. We're in Game 2 on a map we've seen more than any other map today. It's Neoplanet S. This is Rifkin. I'm with Garyoka. We're in the semifinals of the ZOTAC North American Cup, spawning here in the top right corner of the map. After a very grueling, a very long game, it's our red Terran player for CMStorm, Polt.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, pushing Polt to his very limits on Daybreak. He's down one game, tournament life on the line. Can he do it? It is the Blue Zerg, Quantic, Massan.
I can't get over. You know what? I think a lot of people would come to this and they'd be like, "Look, it's Massan. Maybe they know about him. Maybe they don't. But it's Polt on the other end of the stick." And I don't think anyone would have expected the game to go the way it did. But Garyoka, we have an extractor trick with. Oh, sorry. I thought we were gonna have a pool. I just heard the trick, and it's reflexive. You know, pool plus extractor trick, 10 pool, whatever. Because we've seen a good number of those here today. But Massan, I don't imagine he would ever try and cheese Polt.
He's just playing standard. And Polt's going for his gas right after Rax, so what do you think we'll see out of him? Do you think we may see a Reaper opening? It is a two-player map, so he doesn't have to worry about, oh, will my Reaper go in the wrong direction, I miss my timing, because we have seen some ridiculous Reaper openings and pressures from Polt and other Terran players like Beyond, I think.
Polt has some of the best Reaper control. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If we're going to list like top 2 Reaper control, it's got to be Polt or Fuser, and it's going to be close to decide who's got number 1 or number 2.
Yeah,
now, one thing...
Polt,
well, I was going to say, while he does favor his Reapers, and while he's very effective with them, I've also seen Massan have no problem taking very minimal losses. Again, I've seen Massan stream plenty of times. He streams almost every night. Guys, if you want to learn about Zerg, twitch.tv/MassanSC. Seriously, he does a lot of commentary, he interacts with the chat. He doesn't get nearly as many viewers as he deserves, because he is such a smart guy, and if Game 1 didn't prove it to you, Game 2, I tell you, certainly will.
And we do see that Reaper opening from Polt, so he's going to be trying that pressure. And if Massan doesn't handle this properly, he should be able to handle it properly. Even though Polt's controlling the Reaper, this could actually snowball and do a lot of damage. I've seen games won and lost just because of a ridiculous Reaper opening, but I feel like this is that here.
I feel like this is a sign of respect from Polt too, as weird as that is to say. He respects how good his opponent is to actually bring the SCV to potentially have tried to put that bunker down. A lot of the times he just comes with the Reaper, he pokes and he does as much damage as he can.
Sometimes you see, like, you know, one Reaper in the SCV, and the SCV builds the bunker, the Reaper covers the SCV, which won't happen now because the SCV blew up, until more and more Reapers come in, and then it just gets ridiculous. But we won't see that. We'll just see the Reaper going for a poke.
I wouldn't be at all surprised, though, to see Polt go for the same thing he always does, and that's massive Widow Mines with massive amounts of Marines. It works. Chipping away here slowly at the hatchery, though. Looking back at home, he will get some Hellions on the field, but really, it'll probably be like 4 or 6. I can't see Polt dedicating too much more than that.
Yeah. And this Reaper, actually, even though it's not doing ridiculous damage, it's allowing Polt to build that command center on low ground because he knows all of Massan's movements, and he's like, well,
it's like having an Overlord.
And if there are Zerglings coming out, then the Reaper can go and pick off, like, Zergling here and there and slow down the push that it won't bother this command center until Polt can defend it easily.
Well, Massan actually doing a great job there, almost catching the Reaper, very close.
Yep.
But still, this Reaper's not really doing damage, it's just scouting, and that's okay, because that's what Reapers are intended to do now. The damage is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, if you're that much better than your opponent with the Reaper, then yeah, you will do damage, but it's evidence here that it's not the case, and Polt's not investing really anything into this, so it's a fair opener. I'd say it's a fairly even game right now.
Yeah, we got the medevac, or sorry, not the medevac, sorry, the Hellions on their way. Starport coming out as well. Polt gonna transition into about as standard gets when it comes to Polt.
Yep. I like that bunker placement too. It covers the ramp and a bit of the mineral line as well as the command center itself, while Polt begins his actual wall off with depots at the front of his base.
Now Massan, this time Garyoka, with a wall that will hopefully stand.
Yeah, he's learned his lesson.
Yeah, for those who didn't,
Evo wall.
For those who didn't catch it earlier, Massan with a bit of a flimsy wall, going as far as to call it a cotton candy wall himself. You lick it and it disappears. Luckily, though, it is going to be about as sturdy gets.
Yeah, double Evo and a Roach Horn. Sorry, misspoke there.
Alright, well, the Hellions, he's got to be careful, because of course he can start poking away these queens. They don't exactly recover quickly.
Unless there's a transfuse happening, but... So, what do you think of these roaches? And he's got Overlord speed on the way, so...
I like them. I feel roaches are so strong against Terran early game, especially if they open with Hellions.
They are.
If your Terran opponent opens with, like, Marauders, 3 racks, Marines, you know, something crazy, then yeah, the roaches are kind of shut down very quickly. But roaches, I wouldn't call them a direct counter, even though you can argue that. They are very effective against Reapers and Hellions.
Yeah, they are, and Polt can't really do any more damage here. He's going to send this Reaper into Scout, just making sure there's no third base, and catching the Reaper. That's a good catch by the roaches.
And there's that classic Viking, cleaning up the Overlords.
But guess what? Speed's just about to finish, so it won't do ridiculous damage.
Yeah,
Viking has 1 kill, but he's going to be able to pull all the Overlords back if he wants. Now that Speed's done.
Carapace, such a big deal. Like, we thought Overlords were fast when they got the innate speed buff. You know, at the end of Wings of Liberty, we're like, oh man, look how fast Overlords are. Pneumatized Carapace? Forget about it. But he sees the drop coming. He can probably assume Widow Mines. Massan has probably played enough StarCraft to know Widow Mines are coming.
Oh yes. He should have no problem defending this. And again, he's going for that Brood War style lair at the natural, and the Spire at the natural too, as well as Vaneling Nest. Polt should be able to scout both of these.
Oh no, but no Overseers were started. No Spore Crawlers down. Massan's got to run. Oh, I like that, pulling the drones. Only losing a couple. Could have been much worse.
Yeah, that Widow Mine only is, yeah, exactly 2 kills. Polt did not see the Spire. The Baneling Nest appeared on his screen, but I don't think he clicked on it.
Oh, and he actually gets the Widow Mine out. Blackhawk down status.
That's pretty good. But... yeah, Polt doesn't know what's coming yet, and that's really crucial, because if Mutalisks blindside you when you're making, like, you know, Hellions and Marauders, yeah, that's kind of bad. And Polt's moving out with these Widow Mines, too, so... yeah. This is good to defend against, like, a Roach-based push, but not Mutas.
I like the way he did that. I know you mentioned it already, but, like, the fact that he hides it up front like this, it's one of those, like, hiding it in plain sight moments.
Exactly, and it's working right now, because unless Polt does a poke at the front, which is unlikely because of how thick that wall is, yeah, you're not going to see it, and it makes his main base a lot less critical later on, as we saw.
No, Helly's getting in here, but Massan again with that very quick response.
They got some nice hits, though. I think they paid for themselves by now.
Yeah, definitely, but it could have been so much worse.
And they get out. But that's the thing, like, as we saw in the Daybreak game, Polt drops and wipes out the entire main base. Oh no, he killed a hatch that has nothing at it anymore because it's mined out and a spawning pool.
Oh, the Viking will just barely get away with a little bit of health on it.
Yep, it killed 2 Overlords. It did okay. He's going to pick off this 3rd Overlord, so it'll have basically paid for itself after that. And there's a factory. Double factory. So he's going to triple factory. And armory.
I love it. He's done this before. He'll put a reactor on one and a tech lab on the other, and he'll use it for the tech and then just pump Widow Mines. Like
exactly.
I said, like if you guys have never seen Polt before, you should know he likes Widow Mines. Forget tanks, forget anything else. He likes Widow Mines.
Yeah, he just accents his composition with mech units. He never goes full on mech. I like seeing, like, he is a little more heavy or factory heavy than most bio players though early on, which is kind of cool.
One thing I yearn for, and I especially saw when we were watching GSLs, like, Terran players need to start incorporating more tanks with their belts, I feel. Widow Mines are great, they're very mobile, they're very effective, and they're a lot easier to set up than tanks are. But even having as little as 2 tanks, like, it just multiplies your army value by significant amounts.
It does, because you actually, if you're good enough to micro them both, you have 2 different types of zoning from the mines and the tanks. It's actually really brutal. Because, you know, you bait the mines out properly and there's only mines, then the mines are doing nothing and the Zerg can flood in. But you can't do that. Oh, you baited out a couple mine hits, and then you send your Banelings in, and then 2 tank shots destroy your entire Baneling batch. Oops.
I love the way Massan has been taking very early bases versus Polt. As we saw in Game 1, as we see here again, the lower right. It's going to go unscouted for quite some time. The creep spread is already so far across the map. I really like the way Massan's handling this, despite the fact that he's still kind of not been able to do what he was.
Yeah, and Massan's he's hitting his timings like, yeah, Polt's getting his 4th command center, but it'll be a while before he can actually land that anywhere meaningful. And he's taking out creep, which is good, but Massan is staying that 1 base ahead of the Terran player, which he has to do.
Well, Mutalisks are out in Force 2. There's some Marines, but I don't know if it'll be enough. We'll have to see where the engage happens, because there's a lot of Zerglings and Banelings underneath this.
Yeah, Mutiling Bane, pretty standard.
Actually, one thing to point out here, Gary Oak, Polt had some awesome turret coverage last game. Oh,
Yes,
well, these
he did.
Banelings, they get so many of the Marines. I love these Widow Mines, or sorry, the Land Mines. I call them Widow Mines, whatever, but the Banelings basically are the Zerg Widow Mines. As weird as that is to consider backwards logic.
But speaking of mines, we got a lot of burrowed mines
Yeah.
now for our
But-
Terran player.
They're not spread out as a bit of a problem. There we
He's
go.
spreading them out now.
There we go, yeah.
He was just doing that to make sure he didn't get caught without his mines burrowed, which is like almost as bad as being caught unsieged. There's some friendly fire.
Well, what I was talking about before, too, was last game Polt had so many turrets up in the base, Massan was unable to do anything with Mutalisks. This game, if he could somehow just skip around this army, the Mutalisks would ravage the mineral lines. There's no turrets to be seen.
Yeah, Polt is completely naked at home, and not the good kind of naked either.
Alright, well, small amounts of Marines going to try and bait into the Widow Mines, does pull back.
Yeah, Massan knows this entire part of the map is a heavily fortified position.
Oh no, Massan got baited on the left!
But those mines, not the best hits. Those were kind of crappy hits.
No, but they got a lot of the Zerglings, and of course the Zerglings aren't that important, but they become the Banelings later on.
They are kind of important. Just the least important part of the army.
Yeah. Alright, well, some decent connections actually, but Massan being run ragged as he attacks from 4 different fronts, Gary Oak. But
Yeah,
I don't
and
think he's got enough.
He's got a really ridiculously good defensive position here, and Massan thwarted in every turn, and Polt takes a ridiculous supply lead, and this base is vulnerable now. Polt can just stem in and destroy it easily, and there it is, GG.
Good game.
Massan
Oh,
losing a
man.
critical engagement. Polt played that so well. His spreading and his micro, it was perfect to defend against like the 4-5 prong attack from Massan. Like, that's a hard thing to stop. Most other Terran players would have just been crushed right there.
And it's crazy to consider the way that game went after game 1.